So we've got nearly 100 years experience on the stage, if I'm doing my maths correctly. Wade, over to you.
Excellent. Great. You can hear me. Brilliant. Look, what an exciting time to be alive, right? And an exciting time to be a marketeer. I look through this room and I can see a few grey hairs that join us as well. So we might have 100 years on stage, but I think there's a couple of 100 years sitting out in front of us. Titles like this, where AI ends and emotion begins, they're really just designed to spark debate. They make us want to pick a side, right? But for those of us that have been in marketing long enough, know that it's never about this versus that, or where one thing ends and another begins. When digital marketing started, it wasn't the end of traditional marketing. When search and social rose, it didn't kill creativity either. So what we're really here to do is to explore how these new tools coming in and what we do and what we already know, and how we can combine them, augment them to create better marketing. So as I say, every person on the stage is 20 to 25 years. We've lived through these digital waves, the rise of search, the shift into social, and now we're in this new transition. This is the time this technology can create, it can predict, and it can scale. So the question isn't, does AI replace us, or does it end and does it begin? The real question is, how do we use AI to make our marketing sharper, faster, and actually more authentic? So today's conversation, what we're hoping, is designed for marketeers, right? And by the end of this session, I want you to leave one of three ways. I want you to leave confident if you're already really experienced in using AI. I want you to leave curious if you're quite cautious or skeptical. And I want you to leave educated if you're still early on in your journeys. So what I want to do is I'm going to start by just asking the panel practical uses of how we're using it just week to week. So Nita, starting with yourself, when you look at your own week, what are like one or two things that you're using consistently AI for that you weren't beforehand?
Yeah, thank you, Wade. Great to be here, everybody. Can you hear me okay? So I think, I'll be honest, we are, like many others, at the beginning of the AI journey in our team. We're still experimenting with a lot of different tools for creativity, content generation, research, data analytics. I think the tools that obviously a lot of us use in our work, especially because I come from a PR, comms, as well as marketing background, is definitely the content generation. What I find is that in our team, we are kind of the main go-to contacts for the rest of the business, and the amount of requests just gets more and more all the time. And I think what AI has really helped with is actually just automate and speed up those quite kind of churn types of things like employee announcements, HC communications, things that normally would be taking my team's time away from something a bit more value add. And so really it's just about kind of having it almost like an extra resource on the team to get those things done. And we might even be looking towards, thinking about a self-service model as well for some of these different business units that come to us with these requests, because I really genuinely believe that AI is gifting us time that we always would complain that we never have, that we're always burnt out. I've been working in this profession for 25 years, and I've not known a single marketing communications team that doesn't say they're stretched, or that they're doing more with less, or the work continues. So this is definitely how we're using it. We have no qualms about saying, okay, you want this announcement, you want me to draft this? I'll just get Copilot to do that, and it's done really quickly. But as I said, we are experimenting with other tools. So we're looking at creative, video generation, image generation, social media, creative. And I think we're definitely in that stage where I don't think it's completely transformed how we work yet, but we're really trying to get there.
Asim, same question to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. It's an inspired AI morning, so glad to see all of you. And I think I probably second what Neda said about the adoption part of it. We're all at the initial stage of it. But I do think from personal experience as a leader, it's so important to have conversations consciously around AI in the teams to sort of understand what's the interest levels and what's the level of advancement across team members. How do you empower some of them? How do you encourage some of them? And how do you sort of build, upskill some of them, right? So I think that's the start. But I think sort of taking away from the fact that there is horizontal applications across like emails and sort of script generations and stuff, I probably talk about two which are a little bit more nuanced and it's kind of and have actually helped me personally. One is PPT generation has been amazing with the current tools. I use a tool called Gamma. It's just great. I'm a divergent thinker and I have PPT anxiety. I'm not the best when it comes to making PPTs, and especially in an industry where you're always pitching, it becomes a bit of a challenge. So Gamma is amazing. You sort of freewheel through your words on a Word document and then put on presentation, and it sort of turns out amazing presentations. And in fact, I don't think you need to even pay agencies like us to work on presentations anymore. The second part would be, I'd probably say we've started working on integrating data across various sources, right? I think there are graveyards of data rooms in all marketing organizations, right? From you probably have a CRM, and then you probably have an email vendor, and then you probably get some through physical cards and stuff. So I think the current generation of CDPs which have adopted AI are actually a huge, significant value add from a tangibility point of view. So imagine no manual effort on deduplication, cleaning data, sort of getting it together. So we've started working in that direction. And I think the next level would be how do you use that data across platforms without sort of adding more costs to your data effort. So I think these are the two spaces, Wade, that we're probably working on. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Look, Mohit, towards yourself, can you give me an example? We're hearing how we're using it in the day-to-day, but where you've noticed that it's not actually just faster, it's actually better, it's delivering a better output than you actually were using beforehand.
Thanks, Wade. So I think when we say faster, I mean, speed is, I believe, more a baseline now. I think it's the table stakes, right? So that is something which we expect anyways, right? And I mean, we are in the space where every brand can generate content in seconds now. I mean, we spoke about wanting things by Friday, right? So strategy deck and whatnot. But I think to your point about better, better is when we put intelligence back in AI, right? So intelligence where we can elevate creativity through precision and at the same time, essentially. So I think that's what the difference is. And I'll give you two examples of how it's becoming better. I mean, these are known best-in-class award-winning campaign examples, which I've seen. I'm really, really inspired from. The first one is Coke. Surprise, surprise. It's the Create Real Magic campaign, which won big at the Cannes Lions, and obviously it's something which they have scaled across a number of years now. So essentially, a brand like Coke, right, a legacy like Coke, invited fans to co-create. Opening up its IP, its assets to fans to co-create using OpenAI and a custom GPT. So what it did was something revolutionary because it's opening up to fans and making them create their own versions, giving tribute to the brand. It's actually inviting brand into the creation process, co-authoring it, and I think it's making AI creativity more democratized than it was ever before. So I think that was a very, very inspiring examples. And because of the success of the campaign, they have millions of different outputs, etc. So that is something which wouldn't have happened before, right? So you see a great example of AI supercharging creativity and also, being used in ways which it was not happening before. The second example is another inspiring example of Nike. So they created a very inspiring campaign at the 50th anniversary of Nike, which was to give a tribute to Serena Williams, right? So I think it was called Never Done Evolving or something on those lines. What it did was, using machine learning models, it recreated Serena Williams's full career and reimagined it using machine learning models. So essentially what they did was they took her playing style, her wins, her moves, essentially, and created a 17-year-old version of Serena and made her play with the current version, right? That was powerful. That was magical. That really gave me goosebumps when I saw the case study. So I think that is a great example of things which were not being done in the conventional way. So it really comes back to the point that better is all about when you put intelligence and creativity back into the picture.
Thanks for that. We always talk about things being better. We always talk about always the positives, but let's just flip this on its head. What's one of the marketing tasks that you tried using AI for that it actually didn't deliver what you thought or what you were hoping for? Nita?
Yeah, so I have two examples actually. One is more from a comms perspective, and the other one is creative. So we recently had a town hall, and all of the speeches for all of the leadership were obviously drafted by AI, and the leaders actually got up on stage and just took the notes and kind of went, right, I'm putting that here. I'm not even bothering with those. And they just ended up doing their own kind of authentic speech from the heart, which is actually what you want anyway from your leaders, right? But I think it just highlights the example that unless you really train the model on the style of the speaker, the kind of things they would say, their expressions, and really give it the right input up front, you're always going to get something that is going to sound like a machine, a robot, very dry, and you don't really want to see your leader kind of looking at something like that. So that was definitely a lesson for the team when we were sort of trying to use it to speed up our process a little bit. The creative one is more just a learning for me, really, because we recently started using a tool which is great for social media creatives. It's almost like, it does everything for you. It has all of the different models integrated. It does the copy, it does the creative, it does the different formats. And so I got very excited when we first got this and spent an entire Sunday just saying, right, by the end of today, and at the end of the day, I'm gonna have all of my ads done, and I'm gonna be an expert on this tool. And of course, it didn't happen, and I got more and more frustrated. And it was mostly to do with the brand guidelines, the consistency, trying to do something from scratch on that tool. And then I tried again another whole day, and I was like, right, yep, I think I need to learn a lesson here, which is, even though the tools are amazing, you need experts, you need creatives, you need graphic designers, people who understand the work to then use the tools. Even when you're prompting for an image, a video, the person that is doing that prompting, they really understand video and imagery and photo shoots and how to use a camera. They're the ones that are really understanding that prompt and really adding that value. So I don't think, I guess what I'm trying to say here is I don't think it's going to take any jobs away anytime soon. It's not going to be, everybody just use this tool and you don't need these people. I think we really need to get to grips with some amazing prompts and the talent that's going to be in demand in all aspects of marketing communications are the ones who are so good at the prompts that you kind of think, I need that person on my team to use this tool.
Yeah, the creative mind doesn't change, right? So creative people are always creative. So what they all do is the prompt becomes creative. I work with an ETD in our business, and we talk about using Midjourney, so using the same tool. And if I was to say an old man sitting on a park bench holding a red balloon, right? I can craft that. All of us in this room could craft that. His image is 10 times better than mine. Yet we're using the exact same tool. It's because of his creative mind. He knows what to do and how to look at it, and then it's, as you say, prompting now coming through that. But it's that step above prompting, it's that mind. He is a creative or not. So that's the way it goes. Aston, same question. Any lessons learned?
I think I probably second down what she said, which is about sort of brand consistency. And I think on a technical level, what that really transforms is, I think we're still not there from a point of having strong contexts to our generative AI capabilities, right? So what I'm talking about is the fact that if you do not sort of get the same kind of brand consistency across different images, you probably spend more time in taking it out and actually working on it. So everything boils down to economics. But I think you guys are here from a point of understanding what to take away from this, and we saw it as an opportunity at the agency. One is, I think our solution would be a little, probably slightly different to what Neda mentioned about the fact that you, of course, can have designers and do that, but can you actually take your system to, let's say, a 20% more of brand context? And that's possible if you're able to build a product around it, right? And what that would mean is, let's say you have an existing off-the-shelf Gen AI tool. Can you actually build memory into it? It's possible. Can you actually build longer context windows to it? That's possible. So it's eventually about how you balance creative like manual effort and technology together to give a solution which could be optimized but may not be 100% there at any point of time. Yeah.
Let's move into sort of the human role and pitfalls. When I look out across this room, I see people with many years of experience, and I think this is what we all sort of talk about, which is what AI is very good at doing is packaging. Ask a question, get an answer. What it takes is that human, the experience, the knowledge, what we have inside of this room to actually see that answer is not quite right. So when we look at that, if you just have to look at the rise of LinkedIn over the past sort of 6 to 12 months, the content has gone up, the originality and the quality has gone down because more and more people are using that. But, I'm an avid user of AI. I don't try and hide it. We're moving past that fact. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous. Hi, my name's Wade, and I use AI. But we're now coming more open to this, and everyone's starting to use it. So, how do we as marketeers make sure that our outputs don't just look good on the surface, but they actually hold up in practice? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the authenticity and trust issue comes into play here, and our role as communications and marketing professionals is to guard that authenticity, really. And at the end of the day, if the audience is looking at something, if your target audience thinks this is very samey, this sounds like a robot, then we haven't done our job properly. So how do we get there? Well, I think I see a lot of people taking the output from AI tools and just accepting it as is and not doing that iteration with the AI tool first, and then also not doing the editing and that sense check as well. But I also see even the input, we always talk about creative briefs as garbage in, garbage out. It's the same thing with an LLM. If you don't give it your thoughts to begin with, or the thoughts of whoever has briefed you, and you don't give it that framework, and you're just expecting it to kind of do all of the thinking, then again, the result is not going to be authentic, and not necessarily going to get the results that you want as well. So I think a lot of it depends on the stakes. What's the result we're trying to get? Who's the audience we're trying to influence? Is this something that we can, it's just a churn job, we're just going to get away with using AI just to get it out of the way because it's not a huge deal? Or is it something really important where we want to stand out and we want to be authentic? And then how do we use AI to help maybe organize those thoughts, package them into different ways? And then I think another thing that is really interesting is actually using AI to challenge your content. So, putting AI in a persona role. So it could be, well, if I gave you this press release that I've written, and you were ex-journalist from this publication, and you actually even train that AI on what they've written before, their style, their coverage, and then you say, what would you ask me? Or would you find this press release missing key information? Is it newsworthy? And the same thing can happen with so many of our customer personas as well. So I think it can be an aid to really help you focus on what your job is, which is to stand out amongst the clutter, to be authentic, to get results ultimately as well.
I like the idea of using it to challenge your work. I do it quite a bit myself, but it removes your bias because it gives you a different thought that comes through that you wouldn't have not normally seen. Mohit, what skills or instincts do you think marketeers now need to develop or to bring, so they're not just accepting that first answer?
Yeah, I think so. I think the earlier session, Inge spoke about a lot of upskilling which needs to happen at the organizational level across the organization, and obviously, marketing as a department can be the front bearers of it. So I think clearly the most valuable skill right now is, this evolution from being content creators to, I would say, context curators, right? So I think that's a big evolution happening, which I think we all seeing here. We've all seen and known about this term called AI journalist, right? So, and that essentially what it is someone with very deep proficiency of AI tools and technologies, and then using those tools to, solve complex business marketing problems. And that's what it is. So it's not specialization in any one particular practice, but it's a general understanding of all things AI. And that's the upskilling which we need to happen, right? So, and I think we spoke about skills of creative judgment, empathy, and intelligence. I think those are critical, right? So another talk spoke about challenging, and we spoke about prompting and the craft of it. I think those are very, very critical skills in ensuring that as marketers, we are constantly using our instinct to interrogate, to actually iterate as well, and not sort of settling with what's actually going in. Because as I said, the danger is not AI hallucination; it's more about human laziness. So I think that's something which we need to ensure that the marketers of tomorrow are set up for.
Yeah, that leads into the next question, right? For the marketers of tomorrow, what's the sort of common misuse that we're seeing right now in marketing, and then how do we help the next generation of marketers to not do that?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably, I'm quite tempted to say while driving up here, I probably looked at a couple of billboards which look obviously AI. I mean, that'd be the most obvious misuse of marketing. But I think the more deeper sort of problem is those things which are deceptively human, right? Outcomes and expressions of marketing which are so deceptively human that they look so believable, but sort of have the wrong intent or the wrong messaging behind it. I think I'm personally deeply concerned about that, especially at a time when the technology is still new, everyone's experimenting with it. The fact is that creative was always the last frontier when it comes to technology, and large amount of ad platforms with immense amount of budgets could not do it. But I think AI gives them that opportunity to get into creative, and when that happens, there is a mass level of decentralization of creativity, and as a result, it is upon us to actually also decentralize governance. If governance itself remains centralized and creativity gets decentralized, there's an immense risk of having outcomes which look immensely believable, but may actually have the wrong messaging attached to them. So that's one. The second one is, I think, if you have to look at your AI strategy today, you look at something 10 years from now, all the first party data which you're using to fine tune your systems is going to reflect also in 10 years from now. So that's and during this period, you'll have different people coming into your organization, leaving your organization. So how do you ensure that all the things which get baked into your own IP of first party AI systems actually remains consistent? And when in 10 years period, if this happens and it's not consistent, how do you go back? So these are some sort of a short-term challenge and the long-term challenge that I personally see as we go along.
It's interesting you talk about the democratization. That's really the rise of search and social, right? Advertising in the old days used to be you had to have big budgets in order to advertise. Search and social came out, and all of a sudden you could spend pennies and actually get your ads live, and then that's it. Now you're seeing this now coming through with creativity. You needed to have creative departments. Now you have the AI that can actually help you do that. Look, I'm conscious of time. I think we could talk here for about hours. I'll just quickly go into a few of the short fire questions just to get through some of these. What is one thing, this is for each of you on the panel, what's one thing marketers should stop doing with the tools right now? So stop doing, so rather than start. What's one thing they should stop fixing? Start at the end.
Stop treating AI like a vending machine. It's not here to serve you, it's to shape you and build you. Yes.
Nice. Nina?
Yeah, I think stop accepting the first output that you get. Really challenge it, really iterate with it, work together with it like it's a teammate.
I think one thing that I do see when we speak to a lot of marketers is everyone's trying to create this automated workflows across multiple agents. And I think that's a bad idea at this point of time. There needs to be human feedback and human intervention across, and that could be your agency, that could be your own marketing teams. We always sort of look at AI as that third player in the room, along with marketing teams and agency teams, and your systems need to reflect that. Your platforms need to have space for all these three players, whatever you decide to sort of orchestrate. So I think that's one of those things. Yeah.
Now we put that back to now. What's one thing they should start doing?
So start feeding your AI with humanity, because if your output is, as I talk about garbage in, garbage out. So if you want your outputs to be more human, then you need to feed humanity. What I mean by that is feeding your AI with your own brand truths, brand voice, brand emotions mostly, to ensure that what you get is and not just keywords and prompts actually. So I think the quality of outputs will then depend on the kind of outputs we get, right? So
two things. So the first one is really focus on earned media and owned channels as well, because ultimately the truth, the brand truth that you put on there is going to be what then gets filtered out in the generative engine optimization. And truth is going to be so much more important as we move into, the world that we're in right now, and all the risks of deepfake and misinformation. And the less people rely on credible news sources, the more they rely on the LLMs, it's really up to the brands to make sure that they are focusing a lot on their credible earned media and owned media as well. I think the second thing is, if you don't already have guidelines and ethics and governance in your team, and you don't have that because maybe you don't have anything to follow, just create them. Create them now. There are different organizations. MEPRA, for example, has created ethical AI guidelines for communications professionals. You can look at those, you can adopt those, but just start creating them, because we need to uphold our professional and ethical standards when we're using these tools. They are amazing. We love experimenting with them, but we need to also make sure that the quality is really high across everything we do.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things which we could sort of go on about, but I have a particular grouse about the fact that when we approach companies for AI, we have to talk to the CTO and we have to talk to the CMO. There's two different silos, and that never sort of comes together. But to start with, I think it's not important how cutting edge you are in AI. It's more important how coordinated you are in your team. So if there's a certain amount, there's a kind of an effort to ensure there's visibility across the usage of the whatever AI stack that you have across your team. I think that's a great step to start with. Some great stats, like 1/4 of CMOs in Fortune 500 companies say they don't have an AI strategy, enterprise. But at the same time, 70% of employees actually say 30% of their work is done by AI, which means 20%, 21% of your work in AI actually is done on systems which you don't own, you don't know. Right? So that's a big red flag. So ensuring coordination is a very important thing as a CMO, to sort of bring the team together, ensure that the tools are adopted together, and everyone's on it. The second important thing, and this is more tactical, is get into search from an artificial intelligence point of view. The next 10 years of AEO, artificial engine optimization, is going to throw up opportunities which existed, let's say, the 2000 to 2010 of search, before Google started suggesting keywords. So I think these are the two, like strategic and tactical, that everyone should look towards.
Brilliant, thank you. I always remember a quote, a common friend of ours, Nigel Hammersley from Edelman. He talks about this, and he says, today is the worst it's ever going to be.